Hey, it's 12 o'clock. So we're here with our edition of nutrition. I'm Nicole Franklin. I'm a registered dietitian with American Oncology Network, and I'm joined today by Valerie Williams, registered dietitian also with American Oncology Network. Hey, Valerie.
Hey, Nicole, we're excited to see what you're cooking up today.
I am ready. So this is a salad demo, but we're actually starting with bread because we're going to make one of my favorite things, which is croutons. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Croutons are so easy to make, but they can really elevate a salad. And it's a great way to use any old bread you have. So what we do, it's really, this is rosemary bread. I had some leftovers, so I stack them. And we're going to take a good serrated knife and we just slice down them. You make them into almost like little fingers. And then you just take them, turn it, and we go right down. And so the size that you cut at this is going to be the size of the crouton. So don't get too wild. Keep it under, something manageable, right? I've got my bowl. I've already got some in there. So from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to keep cutting a few. And then we're just going to top it with some olive oil and a little bit of salt and pepper. I think if you didn't have a flavored bread, say I have some right here, just a little bit of a whole wheat bread. What you could do is you could add some seasoning in there as well. I have a piece of bread. You could certainly add seasoning, but because I have that rosemary, I'm just going to keep it simple. And I'm going to go ahead and just salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. Again, doing this, it's a way to elevate the salad. It's that little extra touch you have. And it's also a great way to know exactly what you're eating. You're not stuck with necessarily super fried, big, massive croutons. You can really kind of gear it to whatever your salad, is. I'm going to put this up.
Yeah, Nicole, it's a great way too to use up leftover bread if you have like a slice here or the end there. Sometimes I just put it in the random bread bag in the freezer. And then when I'm ready to make croutons, I pull it out, defrost it, and cut it all up. Especially if you buy that around here, we have some really good bread, but it's like $9 a loaf. So you don't want to waste a single slice. And so that's a great way to use it.
And that's also a really good point. So the wheat bread I found, that was actually in kind of the day old bread section of the grocery store. And so that's nice too. If you don't have the leftovers, you don't have to buy the expensive real thing. Take the help, and you can pick it up from your grocery store in that day old section. So I'm just going to grab my pan. I went ahead and just lined this pan with aluminum foil. Again, always looking for convenience. And this is all we do. So I'm just tossing the bread with the olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper. I want it to be in one layer on this pan because really what this is going to be doing is going to be drying out. So it's got that crunch. And notice I do have some different types of bread in here. It's not all the same, kind of like Valerie. I had some leftovers and I was trying to use them up. But all we're going to do is we're going to pop it into our oven. It's on 375. And we're just going to really let it bake. I'm going to ask Valerie to help me remember to stir this.
Yep, no burnt croutons allowed.
I know, right? This is pretty much it. We're just going to pop it in, let it go.
And you'd be amazed. People are super impressed by homemade croutons. If they only knew that's all it took, they wouldn't be impressed, but we're not going to tell them.
And the same thing with the crostini. So if you have any more of the leftovers, just slice it and do a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper. We could shave Parmesan cheese on it. Just for the crostini, I broil it. But for this one, it's just baked. So we're going to get some good color, but we're not going to try to get it. It's going to minimize the risk of it being burned, right?
Yeah, and you want to, the baking lets it dry out a little bit too, so you get that good crouton crunch.
Exactly. So I'm going to grab all of my things to make our dressing. So if you notice, we're kind of working a little bit backwards right now, and it's one of the strategies for meal prep is thinking about what all you have to do to get the meal actually done and assembled, and you work in that order, right? So even though it's a salad, I'm not necessarily starting with the kale first. I'm starting with the thing that's going to take the longest to cook, which is the croutons. I'm going to move on to my dressing. So much like the croutons, homemade dressing, it makes a big difference. It's great because just a few ingredients, you can really manipulate the flavors and make it work for whatever type of salad you're wanting. So to start with this one, I'm going to grab my recipe here, slide it down a little bit. What I do is I'm going to start with everything but the olive oil. And the reason is because we're going to just drizzle the olive oil in at the very end with our whisk here. One of these pitchers, it makes all the difference because it has a portable spout. So again, just that one dish thing, trying to make it easy, especially during this holiday season. So I'm doing 1 tablespoon of vinegar. So my choice in this one was a white wine vinegar. And I chose it because I was kind of trying to do a copycat salad. My mom makes one and it's so similar, but she does a champagne dressing. So I was trying to kind of copycat it a little bit because it's one of my favorites. So I've got a tablespoon of vinegar. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of honey. So this is just a little plug, I guess, for our local restaurants and establishments. This is some Asheville honey, right? This is a great way if you're looking for a gift. Grab some of the good stuff and put it in a little bag with the recipe card for friends and family during the holidays.
Yeah, I love a good local gift or food that never goes to waste. It doesn't take up space for too long. And you're supporting local businesses.
Exactly. And I think it's a great way for people to get to know a little bit about you. In that, I know that I've talked with y'all before about the Spice Walla, but that's a local Asheville company. And it's so nice when you're at a party to have something to kind of, talk about, a conversation starter. And it's just nice to be able to share some of those gems, I guess, from your hometown or the town where you currently live. So again, I've got this 2 tablespoons. If your honey is acting like mine is, it's a little hard to come out. What you can do is you can grease it with a little bit of pan, and it'll come out a lot cleaner. I was trying to use one tablespoon for both. So you've got that. And then I'm going to use the same tablespoon for my Dijon mustard. Generally, most of these vinaigrettes are kind of this base. They'll have a vinegar, they'll have an oil, and they'll have some kind of a mustard. This one is a little bit of a spicier mustard, and I really like pairing it with the honey and the kind of that nice vinegar.
Yeah, mustard's nice in a dressing too because it helps to hold the oil and vinegar together and keep it emulsified so that it doesn't separate and you don't have to whisk it like crazy every time you want to use it.
Exactly. And I like that it's also something you can keep in your pantry. It's not a specialty thing that only serves one purpose, right? I mean, you can use it for lots of different things.
Yeah, and it adds good deep flavor too, especially like Dijon, I feel like adds a good deep flavor.
Absolutely. So I'm just whisking it together. And again, the reason I did it before I did the olive oil is I kind of want it to come together. And then I'm just going to stream in a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I'm actually measuring this out. You can eyeball it. I just find that when I'm trying to eyeball it, it never works quite as well as when I measure. It just really helps you get that right consistency that you're looking for, especially when it comes to the kale. Making sure you've got the right amount of dressing for the right lettuce or kale.
Yeah, I think to the right ratios of acid and oil and sweetness so that it tastes good. Because you're right, when I try to eyeball it, it never tastes as good as if I measure.
Exactly. So again, you can really tweak this to be kind of your own recipe. If you don't like spicy mustard, you could certainly use just a plain or even a honey mustard. You could use balsamic vinegar. Lots of ways to really kind of make this one your own. I'm just gonna put a little bit of salt in there. So again, I'm using kosher salt, but you could use, any kind. You could get fancy and use that pink Himalayan salt. And then I'm using fresh cracked pepper. I think we've talked about the idea of having something fresh, like the nutmeg, but the fresh pepper that's been grated, to me, it's really hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to beat any other. Your ground pepper just does not compare.
Exactly. So that's our dressing. That's it. So, if you're buying like, hey, I'm trying to make a salad, but I don't have a store-bought dressing, most of the time you have the ingredients, it takes less than 5 minutes and you're there. You also have a great way of knowing exactly what's in here. So I've got in this bowl, this is my kale to kind of get our salad started. This is 4 cups of kale. So notice that's a lot. But we're going to have 4 cups of kale, and I'm going to show you what it actually looks like.
And Nicole, is this curly kale, like your standard kale that you have today?
This is curly. See, it actually looks a little bit curly there.
Oh yeah, that's a good looking stalk of kale if I've ever seen one.
We were talking before, and I was in the grocery store looking for this, this recipe, and they didn't have my normal bagged kale. I mean, sometimes we all have to save time, right? So I find the bagged kale that's already been washed and already been chopped. I didn't have it. So I said, well, we'll roll with what we got. So this is what it looks like. This stem right here, I'm going to show y'all. It's a lot like collards. You're going to want to cut this part off, right? The way I'll show you how I did it. Let me grab my board again.
Yeah, and you need to get that out of there because it's really tough and it's not going to soften up very well with cooking or with a dressing. So get it out.
And it's kind of woody, I think. It's got that woody taste to it. It's not a pleasant one. So even if you buy the bags, check, right? Because sometimes what they'll do is they'll wash it and they'll just dice it, and you'll still get some of that woody stem in there. So this one has been washed. I washed it when I brought it home. And again, I'm just kind of coming around and I'm just cutting just that woody stalk off. And so what it's leaving are these beautiful green leaves, right? So again, this is the curly. They make dinosaur kale. They make all different kinds, so you can get creative. I like this kind. Valerie, will you tell us a little bit about kale from a nutrition perspective while I'm putting this in here?
Yeah, I would be happy to. I think we all think of kale when we think of healthy food. Kale didn't used to be something we ate a whole lot, but as we look to eat more healthfully, kale is a great source of vitamin C, vitamin E, and beta carotene to help boost the immune system. It's also a great source of calcium and vitamin K for bone health. And it has some great plant chemicals in it that are shown to be cancer preventing. And so that's why when we talk with you as your dietitians, we may recommend kale or other dark leafy greens. I'm glad you remembered that bread. I almost dropped my roll there.
There's some dark on here. It's really how it's supposed to look, y'all. It's supposed to have some good color. I could smell it. That's what I was thinking.
Perfect. I even have a note here to tell me, but I didn't read it. So
but this is really what we're looking for. We want it to just kind of dry out. Even though it's different types of bread, it's all about the same size. If you feel like your bread is getting cooked too quick, just turn it off, let it dry. That's what we're going for. I think it's got a few more minutes.
Okay, perfect. Another great thing about kale is it's high in fiber. So if you're looking to fill up with less calories, something like kale salad, kale chips, cooked kale is a great way to get filling fiber and water without more calories.
And I feel like that's something that we can all really use. when we're going to these holiday parties, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've got some delicious, rich recipes that I think a lot of us look forward to, but it's really nice to have something like this just to kind of break it up, just to kind of brighten things up just a little bit.
Agree. And sometimes too, I like to indulge, but I also like to know that I'm giving my body some good nutrition that's going to stick with me and make me feel good, but at the end of the day.
Exactly. And this, the thing is, if you have leftovers, it's perfect. This is your base, right? Put some turkey over it instead of dried cranberry salad. So it's a good thing to kind of have on hand just for work days too.
And kale's hearty, it can take the dressing and it doesn't get sog city really quickly like some lettuce does. You dress it and if you don't eat it right away, it's dying a slow death. So kale is good to really take that dressing on.
It's sturdy, you're right. And that's the nice part about this too. It will keep in the fridge. You can make it ahead of time for if you're going to a party or if you're going to my dinner. You can absolutely do that. What I did here is I just added the romaine. So whenever I meal prep, this is my standby, right? I take a bowl and I put a paper towel in it, get everything washed, and just have it ready to go because I find I'm much more likely to actually use it when I do that.
I know sometimes just the washing makes you not want to do it, right? And we've all had bags of greens that we buy that go right in the trash because we didn't use them.
And I have to say, at first, when I was at the store and I didn't see my bagged kale, my heart was beating a little bit. But really, this kale was beautiful, and it's gonna last a lot longer. And I think there was actually more of it too. This is a big salad. This is 4 cups.
Yeah, that's a big salad.
I put apples in here. So this is what the recipe calls for. 1 apple. I did not peel it because I think that it's just beautiful with that color. This is the thing I kind of wondered, should I leave this out? And I ate it the first time and I was like, absolutely not. We will not leave this out. It gives it a little bit of a bite that I really appreciate. And when you put the dressing on it, the dressing, the vinegar in there, it keeps your apples from turning brown. So that's what we're doing now is I'm just pouring all of my homemade dressing over it. I'm going to take my tongs and I'm going to just what they call massage the kale. I'm going to check on my croutons real quick.
Yep, I was just going to say, maybe before you get those hands dirty, we should check those croutons.
Exactly. I think this is about it. They're getting darker, so I have a few different, pieces of bread in there, which is fine. But I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to turn it off, and I'm just going to let them keep drying. So if you're busy, just turn it off. As the heat's still there, it's just going to let it get dry.
Perfect. Good.
And so at this point, what I'm doing is I'm just literally, they call it massaging. We're massaging our kale salad. I'm trying to get the dressing into all of the pieces of kale. So that there's a little bit in everything. Kind of get the apples worked in a bit too.
Yeah, and the massaging helps to tenderize that kale a little bit too, right, Nicole?
Absolutely. It's a worthwhile step. It's not one, to kind of leave out. You really need that. And this is the way I massage the kale. Is I take the tongs and I just kind of keep turning it. How do you do it, Valerie?
Girl, I get in there with my hands. I need a bigger bowl or I'd be making a mess. But yeah, I tend to, especially if I'm just making it for my husband and I, and we don't care that my hands were in there. I like to use my hands to get it all in there because I'm not as patient as you are. I would be losing my patience by now. So yeah, clean hands.
It's a labor of love at this point. It is. You do have to kind of work with it. And so notice I have not added my other ingredients yet because I'm really working, like Valerie said, I'm really working the kale. And I'm afraid that kind of some of the cheese and the pepitas, it would almost, I think, break apart a little bit much. So I like to kind of massage it first. And then I'm going to show you how we can plate it.
Yeah, that's a great idea because you don't want to break up those pepitas or pumpkin seeds, and you don't want to make the cheese all mushy. So I think that's a great idea to wait.
Exactly. So at this point, if you were making this for yourself, we're about 19 minutes into our teaching kitchen. This part could be done, right? If you wanted to put a protein on top of this, this is lunch. If you want to make this for more of a party or a fancy meal, I'm going to show you how we can serve it. And I'm going to slide this out of the way so you can see a little bit better. Let's see. All right, so when I serve anything that's green, I love a white. Okay.
Yes.
It pops. It's just it's hard to beat it. It's also nice because it's not just for Christmas or for Thanksgiving or for Halloween. You can really make it work for whatever you're trying to celebrate. But I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of put it in the plate. If your bowl, like this is a lot of salad. So if your bowl, if you have leftovers, just keep it. Keep it in your bowl. It will keep in the fridge. And I'm just trying to make sure I grab some of everything. Apple, kale, romaine. Again, great way to be bringing something to a holiday party that it kind of cuts the maybe some of the richness. And it's also nice to kind of keep in mind one of the things that we really think a lot of is the idea this is a lifestyle. So instead of approaching a holiday party like, what do I have to take away? What can I not have? You're approaching it like, I can have this. This is something that could really fuel my body well.
Great. What's nice about it too is that a salad is a very familiar food that people are comfortable eating, and the romaine. And so taking your typical salad and just adding the kale to it makes it approachable. People will be willing to try it, even if they're a little scared of kale, which many of us are.
And that's the part I like about the romaine in there. It's just, if you're not quite sure about the kale, it's a really, really good place to start. It's a nice blend, so it's not too much. These are my dried craisins or cranberries. Again, you could use fresh. You could have cranberry salad on the side if you've got leftovers. But I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle it over. I want people to be able to really see what's in the dish. So I have the cranberries and I have feta. So I'll let you guys in on the secret. Cranberry, feta, and a nut. Those three, gold mine, right? If you have no other time for anything else, just candy the walnuts or pecans, a little bit of butter, salt, sugar, a little bit of pepper. And you put that with any kind of green, and it's delicious.
You'll look so fancy.
It will. And I think it's got the flavors too of fall, the apple, the cranberry, the pumpkin. It was just in a little bit of a different way. This one has also got red onions. So y'all know how I am about my onion smell. So I wanted to make sure I didn't get it all in the fridge, because a lot of times, we do have cakes and pies and things in there too. But we've got the onions, and we're just gonna the onion with the apple is actually really good. I know it sort of sounds funny, I don't know about that. It's really good.
Yeah, fruit and salads. Don't be afraid to put some fruit in salads. I've never been disappointed.
I haven't either. I'm gonna grab, let's see, this last one. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna eyeball the pumpkin seeds because they're so good. It's so nice to also have that little bit of crunch in there. So you've got color, you've got the greens, you've got the crunch from the pumpkin seeds, the apples, and the onions. A little bit of that sweetness, your homemade dressing. And give me just a second, and I'm going to pull out these croutons.
Perfect. And Nicole, you could use this as more of a method and switch out the nuts if you have different nuts at home, or if you have dried cherries or dried blueberries, you can kind of use the base and adjust the toppings for what you have or what you like.
Exactly. It's really meant to be, like you said, the idea is giving you resources for ways to really enjoy the holidays. Something like this, I mean, you can take it to a party as is. It's gorgeous. It's got great health benefit, but you can just as easily keep this at home for you and pair it with some leftovers. It's just something quick and easy.
Perfect. Girl, before we close, bring that up to the camera. We want to see a little closer.
What do you think?
It looks fabulous. It looks like you got a lot of work to do for lunch today.
I know, right? The best part of this, I think, is that it is going to keep, y'all, it's going to keep in the fridge. And because the kale is a little bit sturdier, it is not going to wilt down. And I think that's what we all want during this holiday season, is stuff like that. Like, it's practical and it saves the time, but we still have, what we need to fuel our bodies.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole. And thanks for inviting us into your kitchen on this beautiful fall day.
Thank you for joining me, Valerie. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Have a good one. Enjoy your lunch.
Thanks. Y'all have a good one too.
Thank you for joining us.